Howdy folks, coming at you not live in a voiceover. I just figured that was the easiest way to finish up this video. I'm just gonna say from the outset that this is not a high quality video. Honestly, I don't necessarily recommend watching it, but I felt like I should probably make it since I had part 1 of making stainless Damascus sitting there in my video history, and I don't know, it was just too much of a loose end to never actually, publish the second part of it, even if it is kind of a not very interesting, not very educational, not very inspiring sort of project in how it turned out. But here it is anyways, so for those of you who are for some reason still interested, here we go, let's get into it. Okay, so to start with, I had this nice block of metal that I'd worked over a couple times at a good welding heat already, and at this point it was feeling fairly solid, but it was also still covered in just a layer of mild steel from the arc welder. So before I went any further, I decided to just go ahead with the angle grinder and grind off all that mild steel on the surface. So I was just dealing with the pure stainless, and before I forged it down any further, I could really test those welds between the stainless layers, make sure that it was actually nice and solid, and it wasn't just kind of the mild steel jacket playing tricks on me. While grinding on this thing, it really just seemed like the stainless steel wanted to resist the angle grinder a lot more than normal steel did. And as I kind of went along with this project, that seems to be a common trend with the stainless steel. Just everything you would do with normal steel kind of works the same way on stainless steel, but it's a little harder and it takes longer. It's, every bit of progress fights you a little bit more. Um, and that'll crop up a little bit more later when I get to actually forging this block out. And here I am finally getting a little bit of power hammer action. As you can see, the hammer is working pretty well, but unfortunately it's just not really doing a whole lot to that steel. I'm hammering on it, but that stainless just doesn't want to move. So as you can see here, I've kind of given up on the slow progress I was making with the power hammer and just moved to back to the anvil hand hammer using my big heavy 8-pound hammer. And this way I'm not able to hammer as fast or in as labor saving a way as with the power hammer, but I can actually generate a little more force than it does. So this way I was finally able to start to thin down that bar a little bit, just pounding on it with an 8-pound hammer. Even then though, you can see this metal is still really fighting me. I mean, now it's at, what, maybe 1¼ inch stock? I mean, I'd have that broken down in pretty short order if this were just mild steel or even normal high carbon steel. Now I'm getting to the part where I really started to have problems, and you can see that top layer is totally delaminated. Or not totally, but at least partially delaminated, and where it came off, it completely came off. But I decided to just cut my losses there, go in with a chisel and see if I could just chisel that layer off. Since it is just the very top layer, I figured no big loss as long as it, doesn't have any other layers anywhere that haven't stuck as well as they should have. That turned out to be too much to hope for, though. As you can see here, I had another layer delaminate on me, this time right down the middle, and my entire bar just broke in half down the center. And the two halves are maybe salvageable. I don't know, the camera didn't pick it up very well, but you can see some more layers on one end of one of the halves that kind of look like they're all starting to shred apart too. So I just kind of decided to call it quits at this point. I think this stack is a little bit too far gone. As for what went wrong with it and why I had so many flaws in between my welds, my best guess is that my method for trying to keep everything airtight during my initial weld just wasn't good enough. I think trying to arc weld around the entire outside of this block was the wrong method. If you go back and see my first part of this video set, you can see that by the time I'm done arc welding on this thing, the whole block is just glowing red hot. And that means it was all heated up and oxidizing before I'd finished putting that mild steel jacket around it. I think next time I try something like this, I'm going to go for more of a canister style. So I'm just going to put basically a mild steel box around this and weld that airtight. That way I can get it all nice and airtight without overheating that stack of stainless to begin with. But that's it for this particular chunk of metal. I promise my next video I'll make will be something a little more successful. But for now, thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.